FromSoft is known to have some of the greatest, most memorable white-knuckle, back-hunching gameplay we've seen in ages. With that comes some of the toughest bosses, and with that comes a ranking compiled of my list of the hardest bosses I've faced in FromSoft. Only disclaimer, I haven't played Armored Core 6. Every other game is in play, though I made a fair argument and tried to include most of the games. My list is my list, so I included honorable mentions, so I could at least talk about some of the bosses that might have made this list 5 years ago. And these are my opinions, and though I think a lot of these will be synonymous with many difficulty rankings, playstyle and build still play a small part, and I can see some of these being flip-flopped. Other than that, please like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps a lot. Alright, let's get into this. Rounding my list off at number 10, we have a boss that is a perfect send-off to an amazing series, and that is Slave Knight Gale. When I see Gale for the first time, he's nothing like how I know him now. Praying in the cleansing chapel, he leads you to the painted world of Ariandel. He becomes an ally only to consume and be corrupted by the dark soul, leaving only you to drain it out of him and bring it back to the painter. It's poetic in a way, but right from the start he's aggressive, just like everyone on this list is, but luckily for us, the saving grace in this fight is Gale gets stunned after 3 hits on him, so remembering that and keeping count can help a bunch. You might just go in for that extra hit knowing that he'll stun, so it's a great trade-off. And the thing about Gale too is his moves aren't the hardest to read and react to. I mean, he's got big windups and they're pretty telegraphed, but when we enter phase 2 and the cape comes out, he's got a repeating crossbow and it's clear he's not fucking around. He tosses those discs that you have to remember will return, so you gotta position correctly. His cape is an added obstacle because now you need to dodge correctly, not just dodge. And that's where it can get tricky. Being able to dodge the attack but still getting hit can be frustrating. Once his phase 3 starts, he's releasing skull death clouds, and now every attack that added a follow-up adds another follow-up. And it's either you dodge with precision or you get clipped right before killing him, and sometimes it's whatever you can take. Slave Knight Gale has a great difficulty and is a character and fight that I overall hold in high regard. Has a powerful ending to the series and a name we can remember battling against for years to come. Slave Knight Gale, number 10. Alright, this next entry was very close, and ultimately I decided to go with the boss I died more to. Lawrence the First Vicar gives you that healthy dose of those bloodborne shrieks we all love so much. Now this was a fight that I felt that I needed to streamline my approach in the opening moments of every fight so I can have the best chance to even make it to phase 2. At first glance you're like, yeah, it's the Cleric Beast 2.0, but once you get into it, it's anything but. The sporadic nature of this fight, the fire AoE, every swipe he does while in a Congo line. He'll try to grab you, and I mean, if you could put the shrieking aside, you might be able to concentrate enough to have a field day on this guy, but I just try to stay behind him as much as I can, hoping he does a 180 and slam me where I stand. Phase 2 now is just what you would expect in Bloodborne. Missing-legged Firecat with Mr. Fantastic elastic arms, just fucking throwing up fire at me, but is still very reactive in such a vulnerable situation. Now he's crawling and screaming, leaving a trail of fire, and at this point I've died 10 times, so I'm like, get me the hell out of here. And the good old bait and retreat tactic still works. This cat has a killer moveset where the attention needed to have a chance at winning is much higher than average. So number 9, I have Lawrence the First Vicar. Alright, number 8 on my list, I got my boy right here. My favorite fight in Elden Ring, and he's certainly no slouch, Baal the Dread. What this boss delivers is not only a moveset of the ages, a health bar that reduces your pride to a glimmer of hope, but a high level of difficulty when you have to precisely time your dodges and also jump after effects while simultaneously dwindling down a massive health bar. These fights are 7 minutes long. That's a hell of a long time to be panic rolling into a fire pit non-stop. Not to mention this laser beam attack that I have no business trying to fully dodge. I can't help myself sometimes. I get in my own head about how well this fight's going and how he should be up to do a laser beam attack soon, just to end up getting killed by an attack that I know very well how to dodge. It's that kind of fight. With how confident I am in knowing his moveset, there's never any point in this fight where I'm like, oh yeah, I got it. It's always butt clenched, trying to run out of the way of these fireballs and weaving in and out of these fire pools as I'm just trying to recover from being blinded. It's sickening. Seriously, the length and time it takes me to defeat Baal is just such an added difficulty to this battle. He's already a force without the uber amounts of health he has. Number 8, Baal the Dread. Up next, in number 7, I have Sekiro's Owl Father. A step above in the difficulty ladder than his earlier in the game counterpart, Great Shinobi Owl. Father adds more moves, more obstacles, a clear change in pace, and it's just all around bigger and better. He's got so much to watch out for. Shoulder bash into a firecracker throw, quick slash combo into his perilous sweep, which then combos into his overhead slam. Backdash firecrackers into a thrust or slash, ninja stars in a jumping overhead slam. He'll pull any of this out quicker than you can imagine. Phase 2, he's disappearing and reappearing with a slam. And he's tossing his owl at you and then following it up with a thrust. He's just a big asshole at this point. Did I mention that he's got a posture bar that Dark Souls 3 only dreams about? For real, this guy has non-stop action, but also learnable combos. He's surprisingly fair with how long this fight can take. Like, I think I'm being aggressive, but then I see that I had an 8-minute fight with him, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Non-stop, so it feels a lot quicker than it actually is. Even with how confident I am in this fight, it still takes a lot to get it done. And one screw-up sends me packing. Owl Father requires consistent punishing while in between incoming attacks, so it's tunnel vision sometimes. When I get into the last portion of the fight though, I'm just trying to get the dub. Half the time he's vanishing before I can get that normal punish I get off in phase 1, so it's just added time. More time for me to fuck up. Number 7 is Owl Father. Alright, up next I got Sister Frida. For sure, my pick for the hardest boss in Dark Souls 3, I've always had trouble keeping up with the pace. When compared to Midir, I have that fight down so much I have no problem getting him down in my first try. As troubling as Gale can be, there's still a flow to his attacks that allows for tight punish opportunities, and the demon princes are tough, but I stagger the shit out of them, so really, it's more of a spectacle fight for me than anything. Sister Frida takes the cake as the battle with the highest skill gap. Knowledge of pacing, spacing, when to attack, when to back off, how to attack. This is the only fight in my Dark Souls 3 run that I needed an Ember for. Level 75 I thought was enough, but when you take into consideration what's in front of you, you see what the problem is. Phase 2, you have to deal with both Sister and Father. Luckily, Frida backs off, but only when you have correct spacing between the two, so it's crucial to learn that. For me, I was able to lock down phase 1 and 2, but once phase 3 hits, I was like, man, I hope I get the RNG I need to succeed. Learning her patterns and her vanishing acts was a monumental discovery that helped me stay in the battle longer. My strat is try and stun lock her as much as I can in phase 1, bum rush Father Ariendo in phase 2, and get smacked, heal, land a random hit, and eventually win in phase 3. Love this fight, but absolutely my hardest Dark Souls 3 boss. Sister Frida and Father Ariendo. A great boss fight with bone-crushing difficulty, but once you master this fight, it is nothing but great from start to finish. Number 6. Alright, next on my list, the number 5 hardest boss I faced is Demon of Hatred. It's funny. When getting to the point in the game when you're even able to fight the demon, you've picked up so many skills as a player and so many tools to help you in all kinds of swordplay. Then when you walk into this fight, it's, hey, remember the dodge button? That's what it feels like. Constant berating, always stomping, always emoting on me. Does a leap of faith and makes me cower under my umbrella. Luckily, I've got a skill that allows for a punish. If you're not paying attention, the startup animations are quick as shit. It messes with my timing and causes me to forget to jump his fire toss. It gets real busy in this fight. I mean, seriously, look what it's got me doing. Doing that Don't Wake Daddy dance just to get burned and completely miss my attack. This is where the fight can get a little hectic. Just trying to get a heal in and not having the frames to react to his quick array of attacks. Finally remembering to jump but still getting burned. Yep, and now I'm down to 1 healing gourd and 1.5 phases left. Still doing that Metal Gear shuffle and setting myself up for one hell of a headbutt. But if this game has taught me anything, it's that hesitation is defeat. So I'm applying pressure and I'm finally close enough to punish with my umbrella, goddamn. Now this is where I lose control. No health, no pellets, no emblems. He does this shit that I always use my umbrella on, but luckily there's options. Now I'm zipping back and I'm blessed with the stun from the gods above. The final stomp dodging test, and here's the finale. Can I just apply enough pressure to not have to deal with any long-range attacks? And I did. What an excellent display of a boss that sometimes requires the whole bag of tricks to take him down. A deserving member of my top 5, Demon of Hatred. If you showed me a list in 2016 ranking the hardest FromSoft bosses and Orphan was 4th, I would shit my pants violently. I would have done it in a combat situation in retaliation to how crazy that is. But here we are, 2024, and Mr. Cosby is number 4. It's a wild world. Forgetting every boss I'm gonna mention, this fight to me has to be the most random. I could go an hour without seeing certain moves, and once I'm locked into a certain way I'm going about the fight, the rhythm switches up in an instant and I'm now confused on if I actually know his moves at all. Level 60 is the lowest I ever want to go against Orphan, because while I can hold my own in phase 1, once his wings come out, he's throwing viscera all over the place and you got lightning to dodge in between all of it. I sometimes feel the outcome of this fight is all up to him. If I can get him to calm down and stay in somewhat of a melee loop, I'm fine. But once he's jumping up and around me and leaving a snail trail in every place I seem to be standing, I'm like, dude, if anything, I was there to help you. Orphan's skill level is hard to place, cause yeah, I've seen a bunch of no-hit runs on him, but whenever I face off against the cause, it's the most random display of moves imaginable, and it's super difficult to see a clear pattern to remember. I walked in with 16 blood vials, so this was my last attempt before I needed to farm more, and I get a nice chance for a backstab at around half health. So the RNG is already in my favor. I get another few hits in before his phase change, and luckily for me, it does no damage. Right here is my saving grace. When I land this nicely timed backstab, now I only gotta deal with Cause Ultra for only this amount of health. This is where I try to stay as aggressive as can be, because one misread and it's game over. He slips my attack, but no worry, because I slip his. And right now I'm just hitting and hoping I'm dodging the right way, because I don't even know what's happening. When he leaps up, I dodge away. I try to stay behind him, but locking him in this corner seemed to be the deciding factor. Great boss, but definitely a crapshoot sometimes with how random it is. Number 4, Orphan of Cause. Next up, at number 3, I've got Melania. To me, she's like if everything you've loved in a video game had a love child with a bed of chaos. Super highs and super lows clash with one another right in front of my eyes as I'm having a blast getting into her loop and trying not to give her any chances to lifesteal, but then whoops, get waterfouled. And that for me is the hardest part of this fight. You know, her moveset has quick startups, punishing damage, and what seems to be a large pool to pull from. She's got everything you see in a top 5 hardest boss. At first, when I realized what was happening with her lifesteal, I'm like, I see you, Miyazaki, slick, but not my style, and walked away. Returned after a hiatus from the game altogether and got hooked into her game of hitting and not getting hit back. Trying to be efficient enough that I'm not dragging a 10-minute fight along, but still being patient. It's fun and rewarding. Phase 2, when she brings out the Scarlet Rot and now there's that added element, the attention needed to react and attack is consequential. The times I've beat Melania, I've been waterfouled no more than twice, and I think maybe that's the crutch that she's standing on, being the top 3 boss. But still, thinking about it now, if I were to try to beat Melania, I know it would take me a lot longer than I want it to take, and that marks a hard boss for me. That feeling of, yeah, I'm all set right now, I'll come back when I'm in the mood, is a huge point on the board of a difficult boss. Also on the board of bullshit too, but yeah, I'm not complaining right now. I've always and will always like Melania as she is, for what she is and everything that's gonna come because of her. Truly a boss that gives you a run for your money, and seriously, talk about bang for your buck. I've probably spent more time in Melania's battle than I've played other video games. It is what it is. Number 3, Melania, the Blade of Mikola. Number 2 on my list of hardest bosses, I think the most well-deserved spot on this list. Not only is Ishin the Sword Saint a boss with eye-burning difficulty, I mean, you're gonna need blue blockers if you're gonna keep up with this 4-phase fight, but he's fair at the same time. It's incredible. Yeah, and I know I said his 4 phases, but it's really only 3, but you gotta get through Genichiro each time. So yeah, tossing Genichiro aside, Ishin is a fight that requires superior knowledge in every mechanic you've been introduced to in Sekiro, but also an aggressive playstyle with the ability to still react to his perilous attacks in between everything that's going on. What I see when I square off against Ishin is a deflect battle, where if I can use the game's gift to us in the form of no stamina management to my advantage, I can apply the same pressure a boss applies to us and still deflect his attacks and punish the perilous, but that's only after so many trial and errors. Ishin is a tough boss all around. There's no getting around the fact he's relentless, does major damage, has crazy moves and weapons mixing from long and short range sword, spear, and even gun attacks. Can use all kinds of sword arts and perilous, has lightning, and again, the fight is 4 phases long, and you can see why how many people regard this guy as the hardest boss of all time. Definitely in Sekiro, I think the quickest time it ever taken me to clear him is like over 5 minutes. That's a long time trying to stay alive with a guy who has the ability to drain all my healing items, make me run into a tree, display my empty gourd and get the chance to put the game's name to use and die twice, or win sometimes, I don't know. This is absolutely one of those moments I save my sweet rice balls, define grass, find snow for, because I need any extra boost to help me get past them. It's a journey getting to this guy, and after all of it's done, no feelings of remorse or anything negative, just rewarding memories of persevering and instantly wanting to do it again. It's that good. Number 2 is Ishin the Sword Saint. Alright, no particular order, just showing some love to the bosses that were hard as fuck when they came out, or just missed the list by a hair. Esmer the Impaler. He's quick, he does humongous damage, it's sickening what his spear will do to you. Don't panic dodge, cause you're gonna last 3 hits before you're embraced by Mesmer's flame. Hard boss, high learning curve, but the plateau is very noticeable once you do learn his moves. Love this guy. Ludwig the Accursed. Really the only reason Ludwig is an honorable mention and not in Lawrence's spot is the fact that he can stagger so easily it seems in phase 2. I got 2 off, and I know I was being aggressive and very efficient with some of the dodging and punishing, but 2 riposte for half of his health bar at level 60 seems outrageous. Unite. I lost my footage for this, and I'm not going through the hassle to get a 30-second clip, not yet at least. So enjoy this little clip of Red Smelter Demon at New Game +3. Last honorable mention is a twofer, and that's Manus and Calamite. Both can be considered toughest boss of Dark Souls, I think. Manus with his brutal attacks that are hard to see in the darkness, and his dark orbs that without the necklace is a tough attack to get around. And Calamite being a big dragon that hits like a truck. So both are deserving of an honorable mention spot for sure, and bring back tail weapons, please. Number 1, and one you probably thought was here, and it's Promised Consort Radahn. You know, Radahn is a fight that requires a level of attention like none other, as well as a blood oath. I mean, this shitbag has a phase 1 I enjoy. It's tough as hell, and it's seriously not a bad introduction into what is the highest difficulty I've seen at FromSoft. His different combo strings he does and the punish opportunities I can get were really fun to piece and put together. His HP is through the roof. It feels like I do no damage if I'm not power stancing. He's got a wide range of attacks that need quick reaction, like his gravity pull and double slash cross. You need to know where and when to move during some of his fire explosion slashes, or when he pulls out his rock balls and you're too close to him. A lot of moves he has I feel aren't punishable at all, so it's a lot of dodging just to be able to get an opportunity to hit him. But I still fuck up the spacing sometimes. He's just very quick and a force on top of it all. Second phase starts at 70% health, which sucks, and gets in my head sometimes thinking of how it's not split 50-50, but regardless. Now you've got Super Prime Radahn with his pimp god glued to his back, with hair looking like a mixture of Vince Neil and Dee Snider. It's distracting. One serious concern is me getting lost in Mikola's hair and not being able to see what's happening, and I need to dodge with the trust of my trusty muscle memory. Fails me half the time, but this fight is a serious battle of attrition. It takes a lot to keep up with Radahn, or the length of time that you need to do it. When I get into the later half of this fight and I feel the sweat coming on, I know I need to be on point, because one slip up and you're getting hit with a string of attacks faster than you realizing what happened. And when I get him down to when he blasts away into the sky, I'm like, I'm about to die right now. Because it's not like all of his attacks do bone-crushing damage, but it's the culmination of his combos and the accompanying aftershocks, so it's double time. And I'm usually getting hit twice when I misread, so now that's 4 hits I take and I'm dead as a doornail. As a spectator, I'd say this is a cool fight. If I were in the stands watching this Coliseum style, I'll be all about it, but actually being a participant is another thing. Radahn is a force to reckon with. Whether it's for good or bad reasons, he's still a problem for me whenever I get to him. Is he the hardest boss I've ever seen at FromSoft? Absolutely. Is he the fairest boss I've ever seen at FromSoft? Absolutely not, but he's still number 1, and deserving spot of it. Number 1, Promised Consort Radahn. Alright, that was my list of the hardest FromSoft bosses that I have faced. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'm sure some of you had some different experiences, so let me know what your hardest boss was down below. I still plan on continuing to rank all of the Souls bosses in their individual games, so be on the lookout for that. As well as maybe Armored Core 6 so I can make that definitive list. Thank you for watching.